So if that goes before the Supreme Court later. It's not an injunction. Do you think that prevented other people from voting? Well, I won't venture to answer that. One of the most important aspects of my job in this file up to this point was to avoid getting into speculation that is more spectacular rather than founded in law. If there are any legal steps taken, then it will be up to the legal procedure and system. Should the member not sit? According to Mr. Carney, I will not tell Mr. Carney what he should do. He can manage according to his conscience. Having an MP whose election might be contested on a very clear basis, this might have an influence on votes in the House, and we'll see when that influence may occur. But if there's no influence on a vote, then there's no danger. But it could influence voting on important issues. And so that means that we need to start with the first procedure. Given the number of refuted votes, do you think that there are other irregularities in the Terrebonne election? I am not looking at any conspiracies. I don't have all the facts. We lost by one vote, and so there is an irregularity that is hard to challenge, and asking that the election be rerun. The rest of the process was treated properly until we see other evidence based on the judge who oversaw the count. Apparently, there's about 5 additional envelopes on the table where there may have been problems with the mail. Would that change the dynamic at the Bloc Quebecois? And then it wouldn't be just one vote? Well, Elections Canada will do what it deems appropriate. If they themselves are not requesting a rerunning of the election, then it will not be one of our considerations. Everything else will happen in due course. In no way do I want someone to come along and throw about theories and calculations about the number of envelopes on Wednesday afternoon. We'll leave that up to the attorney. We want the law to apply unequivocally, and if it requires a rerun of the election.
Prime Minister Carney, and how concerned are you about misinformation circulating about this riding?
I do not give a damn about misinformation. The situation is quite clear. The judge has established that the Bloc Québécois would have lost the riding by one vote. The vote appeared in the hands of a citizen in a very clear fashion. And in that situation, the law requires the election to be done all over again in the riding of Terrebonne. This is what we expect. But since, I don't know what's the name in English of Election Canada, but since they cannot by themselves ask for the election to be repeated, we have to bring this situation in front of a judge in a court in order to do the election all over again.
Do you think that sets a precedent that you won't accept official election results from Elections Canada, and you're not willing to listen to the vote of the people when your party doesn't win?
I'm not getting into that. I'm sorry to rain on the spectacular parade, but this is not my mindset. There's a law. It appears clear. We have a case. We go forward because we want this election to be held properly, and that's it.
You
just said in French and English that you want the law to apply. Elections Canada said yesterday that the results show that there's nothing to challenge. So do you think that you would change the elections law? I think that we can challenge the results of an elections based on measures and based on a judicial recount. This could represent an irregularity, and if Elections Canada says it doesn't have the jurisdiction to rerun the election, then they they will do as they please, and we will do what we have to do. But I'm not thinking like that for the moment. I'm leaving that in the hands of the judicial process, and we will follow it with interest.
What is the legal advice that you've been getting that makes you feel like you have a basis to make this contestation before a superior court?
All I just told you. That's what I said.
No,
I will choose the answer.
But my colleague also just said that the law is the law, and it says that the law is there. Why do you think that you have a basis? What is the legal advice you're getting on this?
I have a legal advice by a lawyer, and we are going forward because the law is clear. It is not within the premise of Élections Canada. Too bad for them. There are options. We are taking options now.
Have you spoken to Prime Minister Carney? Have you spoken to
Monsieur Blanchet, à quel moment vous allez déposer cette contestation-là?
When will you submit that challenge? As soon as the attorney is ready. Well, the order has been placed.
In 2011, there was a...
Je le comprends dans une certaine mesure. Parce
to some extent, I understand.
Il faut évidemment que toute institution
Obviously, any institution that has to do with votes for democracy has to be independent of political power. There wouldn't be jurisdiction to say that it has to be tied to that. Do I want to have a rerun of an election? I have my doubts, but it could easily give the answer it did.
Legal precedent, just
J'ai deux oreilles, puis vous êtes trop nombreux pour mes
I have 2 ears only, and there's too many of you.
In 2011, there is this legal precedent where the Liberals went all the way to Supreme Court against the Conservatives, and the Supreme Court ended up upholding the Conservative win in that case. So I guess I'm just wondering, in your legal advice, did this come up, and why do you think you do have a precedent to go forward here?
You will have to be patient about that kind of questions. There will be a person in the courtroom that will answer all of that in front of a judge, and I will not.
Votre niveau de confiance que ça fonctionne.
What's your level of confidence that it will work
soit élu à la fin?
and that a candidate is elected at the end? It's very high.
Pouvez-vous parler en fait, des montagnes russes d'émotions depuis...
Could you talk about the roller coaster of emotions since April 28th?
C'est clairement une montagne russe d'émotions.
You said that in your question. It has been a roller coaster of emotions.
Donc c'est sûr que là,
the emotion of having lost by 1 vote.
Aller vers toutes les démarches qui sont
and as the leader said, we will take all measures that are accessible within the law.
Même candidate à affronter dans une partielle, par exemple?
Perhaps having the same candidate in a by-election, for example? Well, that's not up to me to decide. Given the situation, do you feel that the election was robbed from you? This is an issue that surpasses any particular party. It's about confidence in our electoral and democratic institutions, and to ensuring that we have the approaches and measures that we, the residents of Terrebonne, have a representative that is legitimate.
Nous avons un recours judiciaire en cours.
We do have a judicial process in course, so I cannot comment on that, on confidence in institutions at this point.
Your confidence in the institutions, including Elections Canada?
I won't allow myself to comment on my level of confidence of Elections Canada. We have a case that will be tabled in court, and the judges will decide.
What has it been like? What has it been like? What has it been like for you over the last couple of weeks since the election to go through all of this, understanding that at one point you were declared the winner and now you are not?
Of course, I mean, this expression has been used many times before. It's a roller coaster. Nevertheless, I'm lucky to be well surrounded, not only by my party, but also by peers, and the population that supports me is very confident in our case as well.
How quickly share some sort of timelines that we can expect here? What's the next steps in terms of your court case? When can we expect an update?
My leader just answered all these questions about the next steps.
Do you think this was wrongdoing or was it incompetence?
Again, my leader just answered all these questions.
I don't think we got to ask him that. Do you think this was wrongdoing or incompetence?
He certainly didn't answer that question.
There may be wrongdoing without the intention of performing wrongdoing. It's, of course, a mistake, which has been admitted with the consequences of this admission.
M. Blanchet, un mot sur Legault. Il a dit qu'il y a une ouverture des Québécois par rapport à un
word on Mr. Legault. Is there openness of the Quebecers with respect to a pipeline?
On pourrait discuter beaucoup sur ce qu'est l'ouverture des
We could discuss at length on the openness of Quebecers, but as I said in the campaign, we will have a conversation amongst Quebecers about who would like to participate in that before we take any position. Mr. Guilbeault was the first one to say that he is a Quebecois, and yesterday he was clear on the fact that he doesn't think that there's a market. He thinks there is no developer for a project that loses its relevance. And that is an example of openness of collaboration, and I agree with Mr. Guilbeault on that. What about a federal budget by the summer? Thank you. That was a question I was expecting. We elected a government elected based on a financial framework that everyone found, I will say, was phantasmical. And at the outset, the government has come out and said that we will be a government of savings with an expanded council of ministers, as Mr. Trudeau allowed himself to do. And they're not capable of tabling not just a budget, which I can understand given what it takes to have a complete budget, but not even a small economic update in June. At the same time, that adds to $4 billion that was sent in the mail to Canadians without a cent to Quebecers before the election, $6 billion in tax cuts without any form of evaluation of the impact of those $10 billion added to the existing deficit, without any evaluation of the impact that it would have on the economy. And all of this in the context where we would be facing significant challenges in the coming months. So how can I say this? The economic mountain because of the deficit. It's disappointing. Of course, now the idea is that we do need to collaborate, and we are given an explanation of that. And because this will be hidden behind the rest of the tax cuts, and it should be debated in Parliament and in committee, and that will be very interesting to see.
Do you understand?
We need to read a law before supporting or not supporting it. What about a Ways and Means motion? Would you support that? I will start off by reading, and I assume that Mr. Poilievre will do the same thing. We'll start by reading what the bill contains. So we can make a bill that simply provides tax cuts, but in the great liberal tradition, they can create a bill that is a package of small measures and say, well, I'm against this small measure, but we'll have to wait and see what it includes and what is the level of transparency that the new government will explain to us.